Hi, this is Kim Kent, Director of Bridge Elementary and Bridge Extension, and I am here with Nicole Green, who is the co-director of Bridge Elementary Bridge Extension, and we are here to welcome you to Homeschooling 101. Thank you so much for joining us in this workshop. There's so much information that we have to prepare for you. Homeschooling 101 is designed to give you all of the basics of what it is to begin homeschooling. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, who are you all to tell me about homeschooling? What do you come to the table with? And I'm so glad you asked that question. I have 6 children, and I am getting ready to start my 17th year of homeschooling. That is just mind-blowing when you think about it. But of my 6 children, so far I have graduated 3 of them. I have one, my oldest is getting ready to go off to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts on scholarship. I have a son who is at the Art Institute of Virginia Beach on scholarship. And I have another daughter who I also graduated last year. She's a student athlete, and she is at Howard Community College playing volleyball and loving every minute of it. So it's not like we're coming to you straight off the street and having not done this. We have a wealth of information to share with you. And Nicole is amazing in her own right. I just needed to let you know she is phenomenal. You will be so blessed with all of the information that she has, because she's been doing this. My goodness, you're going on year 15 now, right? 15. Amazing. But I'm not going to talk. I'm going to let her share with you her story and her background as she begins Homeschooling 101.
Thanks so much, Kim. So yes, I am beginning year 15 in the fall. We are finishing up year 14, and everyone is so glad. My daughter, my oldest, I graduated 1, and she attends University of the Arts in Philadelphia as a creative writing major, and goes to a school that she can do all kinds of things. So when we were looking for colleges for her, we made sure she was able to find a place where she fit, and that's the beauty of homeschooling, and we'll talk about that, all the opportunity that homeschooling presents families. But in addition to her, I have 2 others. They will be rising 11th graders and 10th graders, and our family has homeschooled in 3 states. So one of the other things that I am very familiar with is how to navigate the legal system in the home, the legalities of homeschooling. So anyway, just sit back for a few minutes and watch this video, and we're going to share with you all about the basics, the very beginning, the foundation of Homeschool 101. Let's begin. Okay, we're going to go full screen. So I prepared this workshop for you, Homeschool 101, chart the course, enjoy the journey. And then Kim has another part that she's going to come in behind me and do what's called the nuts and bolts. So for this workshop, this part of the workshop, you'll get an overview or a foundation. Just a little bit more about me. I right now serve the homeschool community as a consultant and a coach, and I'll tell you a little bit more about a book project that'll be coming soon for everyone to enjoy. With Homeschool 101, the first thing we begin with is 101 and more reasons why. So when thinking about homeschooling, the first thing I tell parents is think about your why. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to homeschool? And whenever I do this workshop, that's the first place we begin, because I've discovered over my 15 years, or going into 15 years, that parents don't often think about why they began. And so when the times are rough and you find challenges, which you will have, then you can't. You need to be able to remember why you started, so you can reach back and hold on to that and continue along the way. Not everyone has 101 reasons. You may not have 101 reasons by the time you're done. Some of us start with just one reason, and then we go on from there. But as your children grow and as society changes, your reasons will build. So 101 is not, a definitive number, but it's, the thing, 101 reasons why. The other thing I wanted to tell you is one of the points of my part of the workshop is kind of quality control for you. So it's really important for you to think about all the different components of homeschooling. I kind of touched on the emotional part and the pragmatic parts, because I want you to think about what it is you're getting yourself into, and in a quality control way, I want you to end up in one of two different places when you get to the end of Homeschool 101. Either you're pumped and you can do it, and we can see our family doing this, or you're thinking, thanks for sharing that with us, this is not for us. One way or the other. And the reason I want to make sure you see a big picture and have a good idea of what it is that you're getting yourself into is because if you decide now, if you feel your confidence now, if you're sure you can do it now, or at least you want to try, then you'll continue, and you'll continue with building your confidence as you go. But if you already know it's not for you and it doesn't feel good, at least you didn't make the mistake of getting into something that your family might regret later, okay? Homeschooling 101 is the number of reasons. How many reasons? You'll come up with more as time goes on, and then you want to remember your why. So we're on a mission to help you envision your why. W stands for what? What is it that you're getting yourself into? What is homeschooling all about? What does homeschooling entail? I'm going to give you some information, and then Kim's going to come back with some more nuts and bolts to tell you the what of homeschooling. And then how? How do you do this? How do you go about homeschooling? What is it that I need to do? What does homeschooling entail, and how do we do it? How does our family homeschool? We see what other people are doing, but how do other families do it? And yield. What do you want your homeschooling to have looked like when you look back? What do you hope will be the end result? What do you hope will happen in the conclusion? When your family looks back on homeschooling, what do you want to have remembered? What will homeschooling yield for you? Okay? So Homeschool 101, this part is the big picture. Let's look first at the letter H. The letter H stands for home. Homeschooling is an extension of your home. The most simply put, just like parenting, homeschooling will be an extension of your parenting. So just like in parenting, you make decisions about your children, you consult with your husband, your spouse, your other people who are trusted advisors. When it comes to parenting, homeschooling will be an extension of that. Homeschooling tends to take up every part of your home, not just physically, but the rhythm of your family and the way you make decisions. Because you homeschool, you'll make decisions based on your own personal calendar, and you'll learn that homeschooling allows you the flexibility to do things in your calendar that you may not have been able to do if your kids were in traditional school. Homeschooling is an all-encompassing home endeavor. Home is where the heart is, and similarly, homeschooling is, home is central command to homeschooling, right? So we don't always stay at home, and we'll talk about that a little later, but home is where our hearts are. Home is where the heart of your homeschooling is. Home is where you brainstorm. Home is where your materials are kept. Home is where your family has your powwows. Home is where you get together and make the decisions that will decide what your homeschool will look like. So I will tell you, after 15 years of homeschooling, one thing that I know for sure is that homeschool encompasses and takes up a lot of the energy in your home. If I were to show you what was on the other side of these doors of this room that I'm in, you would see papers and books, and there's a math book here and a pencil sharpener and hole punchers. Those kind of things may not be prevalent and out in the open in other people's home, but when you homeschool, your home looks like people live here and learn every day. You may not have a specific school room, but homeschooling will be a part of your family, and the most neat and the most organized people still have spaces that are dedicated to homeschooling. So even if it's not like the kids come into a room and then there's, posters on the wall, some people do that. Some people create a classroom. Some people, like in my house, the teens go in their own spaces and they do their own work. Homeschooling takes place wherever you live in your home, and that's a good thing. Whether it's the kitchen table or the island or, in a specific office, homeschooling is where you live. And one of the reasons why I start with home is because I want you to know that there are never two identical homeschools. Because my home looks different than your home, my family dynamic is different than your family dynamic, then my homeschool will always look different than yours. And so it's very important for us to avoid the comparison trap. Avoid that thing that makes you look at somebody else's homeschool and say, I'm not doing it right. Or look at somebody else's homeschool and say, they're not doing it right. They're doing exactly how homeschooling fits in their family, and you'll do it exactly the way homeschooling fits in your family. It's an extension of our family. And so whatever your family's unique personality is, whatever your considerations are, some people have special needs kids, other people have family members that they're taking care of outside the home. Your homeschool will encompass all of that, because home is the heart and your heart is at home. So letter H, home. Homeschooling begins at home. And then we move on to letter O, others. When my family first began homeschooling, we lived in a small town in the Midwest, and we were the only homeschoolers that looked like us for miles around. I knew once I made the decision to homeschool that I needed some social time. I was going to need some other moms, and I had this one very outgoing 3-year-old girl who, when we first started making the decision, she was 3, and I knew I was going to have to find a community. And I also knew that I was forward thinking with this, and I also knew that I was going to need to find out how this thing was done. So a little bit about how we started. We lived in, like I said, a small Midwestern town. And there were very few schools. The school district was small, and there were very few schools to choose from. And so when we bought our house there, where we moved from my husband's job, when we bought our house there, we bought the house that was zoned for the good schools. You know, realtors would sell you a house based on the school district nearby. And we bought the house that she told us was zoned for the good schools. And my husband was public school educated, and I was public school educated. So we had no other thoughts but that our kids would go to school. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and I was also a former professional educator. And so my goal was to have my kids, raise them at home, and then up until kindergarten and send them to school. When we found out that we were not going to be homeschooling, and that's a little bit of a story that I'll tell you about later in my book, but when we decided to homeschool, we decided that we'd better figure out what were the options. Like, what is homeschooling really about? What does it look like? What does homeschooling encompass? And so I wanted to find the other homeschoolers, and for a few minutes, for a couple days, I couldn't find anybody. I didn't know where other homeschoolers were. I didn't know how to find them until I visited my local library, and that's where I started to discover the others in my town who were homeschooling too. And that's the point of letter O. Others homeschool too. So even if you don't know anybody personally who does it, even if you've never met another homeschooler, even if homeschooling is the furthest thing from your mind, even if nobody at your church does it, and nobody at your child's dance school does it, and nobody at the dojo does it, nobody on the volleyball team does it, that's okay. You may be in a vacuum in those spaces, but there are many, many others who homeschool too. And you will find them. So as soon as you start looking for them, you will find them. There are homeschoolers to be found on Facebook and Instagram, homeschoolers on Pinterest. We homeschool at the library, at the museums. There are homeschoolers everywhere you look. So don't be discouraged, because others homeschool too. And listen, there is no longer a typical demographic of homeschool family. There used to be like one specific stereotypical homeschool looking family, you know, and I'm sure people who still look like that still homeschool, but we look like a whole lot of things. There's homeschoolers that look like me. There's homeschoolers that look like you. There are homeschoolers with large families. There's homeschoolers with small families. There are working parent homeschools and single parent homeschools, every demographic, every age. There are grandparents homeschooling their kids and adoptive parents homeschooling their kids. In some states, foster parents can homeschool. Everywhere you look, there are tons of different kinds of homeschoolers. So just remember, whenever you're trying to think of how will I find my tribe, how will I find somebody to think of, you know, that looks like me, how do I know I can do this? Remember that there are others who do it too. Okay, so that's letter O, others. We have H for home, O for others. Moving on. Money. Now, there are what I would call two bad words of homeschooling. 2 bad words, like curse words, right? Whenever people hear these words, they go, oh, I don't want to talk about that, or they don't want to hear that word, or don't say that word. One of those words is money. Now, why do people get mad about the word money when it comes to homeschooling? A lot of times it's because if you did not start with the paradigm of homeschooling from the very beginning of starting your family, or if your kids have already attended public school where you don't have to pay tuition for education, then you may not be accustomed to paying money for homeschooling. Okay, and when I talk about money, I'm not only speaking of environments like Bridge Elementary and Bridge X, where we have a tuition-based system. I'm talking about anything you do with homeschooling. Homeschooling is going to cost you some money because you're responsible for your children's materials and for their learning supplies and for, school supplies and the books that they study with and all that kind of stuff. Now, listen, that said, I have heard, and maybe you have too, that it is perfectly fine and very much doable to homeschool with just a pencil and a library card. I'm sure somebody is able to homeschool with just a pencil and maybe some paper and a library card. And you could do that. But it would take a tremendous amount of work on your part. And also you might find yourself with a bunch of library fines. And so it's going to cost you some money with that too. The point is, homeschooling can be as inexpensive as you want it to be. It can be as expensive as you want it to be. You can spend as much money as you want or as little money as you have. But the key is to keep in your mind that homeschooling is going to cost us something financially. Some way, somehow, homeschool costs money. Now, what do we spend this money on? Well, depending on where you live, you may spend the money on outsourcing a lot of classes. You may have to go to, if you take field trips, you may have to pay for museums. We happen to live in an area where there are lots of free museums. So thankfully, the Smithsonian has given us just about everything we need for free. But then we have to pay the park, you pay the metro, whatever. Those kind of things you can put in your homeschool budget. Homeschooling, in terms of money, your homeschool budget will cover curriculum. So lots of families buy curriculum, or we buy books like maybe from a bookseller like Amazon or even a used bookstore. There's a couple of small used bookstores still in our area. People buy them from, there's lots of different bookstores, so we can put links to that on our website for you, or online booksellers. The majority of us, Kim and I especially, we encourage families to buy as much curriculum used as you can. Every year in June, a local church in our area hosts a homeschool book fair, which was a used curriculum fair, and we're not going to get to have it this year, but it's one of the best places if you can go to a used fair. But then there are used websites all over the internet that you can buy curriculum. There's eBay and all kinds of others, but you'll spend money on curriculum. You'll spend money on workbooks. You'll spend money on copies. You'll spend money on pencils and crayons and markers and all that kind of stuff. Homeschooling costs money. And then when you think about it, there are some classes that you may want to outsource. Bridge Elementary is a perfect example of that. We have set up a tuition-based tutorial where parents pay tutors directly to bring their kids to Bridge Elementary, and we cover the 4 core subjects, and we have a video about that. When you first logged on, you probably saw that video with regards to this workshop, but you can pay tuition and you can outsource some classes that you may not be interested in. Our family always outsources science, so you may pay out for outsourced classes in person. There are online classes, all kinds of ways that you can spend money. The key is to remember that homeschooling does cost money, and you will need a budget category for that. Now, how do you come up with money for homeschooling if you didn't have it before? Some people save aside their tax return. Some people make serious financial changes, like they get rid of cable or they stop streaming something, they pare down their cell phones. I don't know what you'll have to do. I don't know what you'll have to do, but just think about it. Let that roll around in your head that homeschooling is gonna cost you some money. And again, I told you, my goal is to let you know really what's going on with homeschooling so that you will not come into this blindly, okay? Homeschooling is an extension of your home. Other people do it too, so you don't have to do it alone. Homeschooling is going to cost you some money. And let's go on to letter E. Homeschooling, just like traditional school, is an education. So your children will be getting an education as a result of being homeschooled. Now, there are lots of different ways to homeschool, and Kim's going to touch on some of them a little later. There are lots of different ways to homeschool, varying homeschooling methods, different kinds of philosophies of education also permeate into homeschooling. But the point to remember here is that your children need and they deserve an education. So however you go about homeschooling your children, whatever your method is, whatever philosophy of homeschooling or education you ascribe to, that's fine. Just make sure your kids are getting an education. And I'm going to tell you this. One time, some friends and I were out, again, when we lived in the Midwest, and we met a family. We were at a bookstore, some kind of craft fair or something, and there was a woman there selling Usborne books. So maybe you're familiar with Usborne books. And she had a display, and we were all over her table looking at the books, and we had our kids with us and a couple different things. And she was kind of surprised that we had our kids with us, but she was a little confused because we were a group of homeschool moms who brought our kids with us and we were buying books. She could not reconcile us having our kids with us, being homeschoolers, buying books. Now, to you, that might sound very odd, and it did to us too. But what she explained to us was her mom had removed her siblings from their school under the guise of homeschooling them, and they never got an education. So she was the oldest and was allowed to continue high school so she can graduate. And she had moved on to doing other things, but her 5 siblings were all relatively illiterate because they had not learned anything. Their mom provided nothing, no materials, no classes. She didn't do anything, no curriculum, nothing. She just brought them home. And I will tell you, for someone who's been doing this for 15 years, Kim said on year 17, we have friends who have graduated several and mentors who are all finished and their kids are grown now. One of the things that most homeschoolers will tell you is that we would rather you keep your kids in school than bring them home and not educate them. Not that we have a right to decide or dictate what happens with your family. You make those decisions, but your kids deserve an education. They deserve to be educated. So however you choose to do it, whether you use curriculum or not, if you're eclectic or you use something in a box or you do some kind of unschooling, you'll learn all about that with Kim later. Please be sure to remember that this is your child's education. And it's the only K-12 education they'll get before they become adults, and they deserve it. Also, though, you are responsible for it. So here's the thing. When my daughter was learning to read, she was struggling a little bit because I couldn't figure out exactly the method I wanted to teach her. I had taught kindergarten, and so I knew how to teach children how to read. I've done that before and watched emerging readers come into their own with reading, but we struggled in our house. And I told my husband, because I knew if I couldn't help her read, then I was going to fail her. It is nothing, no badge of honor, nothing pious or honorable about graduating your child at the end of 12 years and they have not received the best education that you could provide. Not a standard, nobody else is the standard, not anything that you compare to anybody else, but the best education that they deserve. Everybody's on a different level. Everybody's children will learn at their own rate. Some families are not even, their kids are not even looking at college. None of that is what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about a basic education. You are responsible, heavy responsibility. So back to my story about my daughter reading, it was a heavy responsibility. But education of our children, when we choose to homeschool, is our responsibility. There's no teacher to call and fuss at, no principal to talk about substandard materials or whatever. You're providing everything for your kids. And again, H, an extension of your home. O, others do it too. M, it's going to cost you some money. E, the responsibility of education is on you. Okay, quality control. Think about what homeschooling entails. This is the basics, okay? S, the other bad word for homeschooling, socialization. I can't tell you how many homeschoolers, we get so tired, all of us, of the question, what about socialization? That's the question people ask us. What about socialization? How will your kids be socialized? How will they learn to function in society? Well, my easy answer to that is they'll come out of their bedrooms and they'll engage with their family. And then as a family, we go out and we engage with other people. Socialization is something that will automatically happen. So now let me give you a caveat about that. The definition of the word socialization is to be trained, basically, or to understand the norms of society. if we think about it, a lot of people homeschool to get away from the norms of society. Traditional school puts our children in a class of 30, maybe a grade with their grade in elementary school. There may be 2 or 3 grades, classes of that grade. So you figure 90 fourth graders. When they go to high school, they're in a school that could be like 250 all the way up to, I don't know, 750 kids. That socialization with just their peers, they learn peer behaviors become ingrained. They learn very much from each other as peers. That's where they internalize that bullying, whether they are the bully or they're being bullied is a normal part of life. They learn to have their opinions oppressed and suppressed. They learn they learn how to kind of march in line and wear clothes that are imposed upon them and only know very little self-expression. They can do that kind of socialization, and maybe not all schools are like that. They can do that kind of socializing, right? Learn to be socialized that way, or they can be socialized with your family, where our family culture is the prominent definitive factor in who they become. They learn to be educated by people who love them. They learn with their siblings where they are comfortable and they're with people who, we use the expression in our family, iron sharpens iron, or it's like a rubbing together. Sometimes your sibling doesn't feel like being bothered and you guys kind of rub up against each other that way, but at least it's in an environment where people love you. And then we don't only homeschool at home, we go other places and homeschool. We homeschool in our outside classes. We homeschool on field trips with groups. We homeschool by visiting different kinds of environments. And so socialization happens. It happens, and it's not a hard thing to accomplish. Socialization happens. And then they ask, well, a lot of times maybe they say socialization and they mean socializing. Where will your kids get friends? How will they get to meet some of their peers? We want our kids to have peer friends. We do. And our kids will meet other homeschoolers because we remember that there are others who are homeschooling too. So even if your family doesn't join co-ops or come to a tutorial or become part of a group, that does field trips together, there are other ways for your kids to meet friends. They can do sports, they can join library groups, they can go to library time, just taking them to the park. My mom always taught me, your kids will meet your friends for you. Go to the park during homeschooling hours, like when other kids are at school, and you'll meet a lot of homeschoolers. Lots of ways to socialize and for socialization. And this is one of those things that this fair is going to help you understand. Just like with others, as you watch all of these videos, you will see there are a ton of opportunities for homeschoolers to be around other people, learning from other adults, interacting with families that are not your own, learning a socialization, learning how to work in cooperation with other people without having to go to school. I am not against school, traditional school, public school or private school. I'm not, but my goal is to let you see that homeschooling has worked for us. My family, there are 5 of us, my husband, myself, and our 3 children. And we range between extreme extrovert to maybe just on the other side of whatever line might be moderate to people person introvert. We need to be around people, and we socialize very well. Okay, I'm going to tell you this one last story about socialization before we move on. A few years ago, my daughter's sweet 16 birthday party, the teenagers were having a great time, and they're dancing and all kinds of things. And I was standing next to a young man who said, I said to him, these teenagers are really having these homeschoolers are really having a good time. And he said, who on the floor is homeschooled? Who are these kids that are homeschooled? And I said, all of them. And he was astounded. He said, I would never have known. Somehow in my mind, I thought homeschoolers were weird or shy or socially awkward. And you know what? Some are. Some people are weird or shy or socially awkward. And I shouldn't stick shy between weird and socially awkward, because you don't necessarily have to be weird to be shy or shy to be socially awkward. But he was saying that he always had a certain image of homeschoolers because he didn't understand that we got out in groups and that we had friends. There were about 40 kids at that party, and they were all homeschooled, and you wouldn't know it by looking out. So the weird, unsocialized homeschool thing that you may hear about is sarcasm. most homeschoolers are not. So you don't have to worry about your children missing socialization, or your family not being socialized, or your kids growing up not being able to interact in society because they were homeschooled. Okay? And then character building. Now, I made some specific notes about character building that I want to make sure to highlight, because my family's been talking about this lately. My college daughter is home, and she goes to school away, but she's home right now. And then I have the 10th grader and 8th grader who are rising 9 and 11. And we've been talking about character building because we try to do what I refer to as an audit at the end of our school year, to think back about what we've learned and how we've grown over the course of the school year, what kind of things we need to change. And one of the things that we talked about in our family is how homeschooling is the perfect environment for character building. The perfect environment. And one of the things that my kids have learned at this stage, where they're all teenagers, is that being together, learning to prefer one another and not their peers, this year in particular, and I think it actually has been going on for the whole time, but they're paying attention to it this year in particular, has really been something that has built their character, has really been the means by which their character has been built this year. And one of the ways we talked about that, one of the ways that has been most prevalent in our family, is that they have had to really share space. The boys are taking classes. They have some classes that they're taking together. So my 8th grader and my 10th grader are taking a language class together, and that has caused some competition in the family that hasn't been here for a while. One gets better grades on quizzes and the other one does better in the class, which is part of their personality. It makes sense. But their characters have been built because they've been learning. It's been character building for them because they've been learning to help each other, to work as a team. They've been learning camaraderie on a different level than what they've known before, and they've been homeschooled their whole lives. But it's been character building for them because they have learned to prefer one another over their peers. And that doesn't mean, I'm going to fight for you because you're fighting my brother, which it does mean that in a way, but we're not talking about fighting at all. My kids don't have a whole lot of external conflict. They just have learned to prefer one another. So when there's a study group being formed, they automatically want to study together. When they're in a class together and they're being partners, the teacher has to separate them often because they want to be together. They prefer one another. And that's been a character building lesson for them that they didn't know. That's something they discovered looking back. Another way character building happens in homeschooling is that we have to share resources. So where your kids might go to a school and they go to a class and everybody has their own tablet or everybody has their own computer, or maybe there are 15 and the class has to rotate in groups of 3, that works there, and there are more supplies there, so not as much sharing is going on. But at home, we don't have 15, we don't have 3 computers where most families don't, where everybody has their own, or if we're doing science, there's not 2 or 3 versions of the science setup. People are lab partners at home. They're not necessarily independent, working at a bench by themselves. We don't all have our own microphones or microscopes. And then also, you have to ask your brother, who has the stapler? What happened to the hole puncher? Did you see that red pen? Anybody have a Sharpie? Right in the house. We're sharing our materials. We're sharing our spaces. We have to be quiet because somebody's on an online class and move to the other room. We have to yield space sometimes and share books. We have to. It builds character. It helps them to learn how to work in tandem with their siblings in ways that they may not have to if they go to school outside the house every day. And if they're not twins or they're not in the same class for whatever reason, they may not have to interact around their education as much as they would as at homeschoolers, okay? And even homeschoolers who are working on a completely different curriculum and nothing is, joined together, there's nothing that's overlapping, they still share a lot at home. When kids go away to school, they each have their own class, they have their own peer group, they have their own teacher, they're apart for the majority of those 6 hours. At home, it's all us, and all we can do is work together, okay? Also, character building for the parents, and I found this definitely with myself because homeschooling changes our rhythm, right? You can organize and kind of, you make your homeschooling fit the rhythm of your home. We talked about that before, and you don't have to go outside of the character of your home or the unique characteristics of your home. The part of home, your homeschool will be a part of the home that it takes place in, of course, but how it builds your character is that it changes us as parents because we begin to feel the weight of this tremendous responsibility. Remember a few slides back, we talked about the E, where it is our responsibility to provide an education for our children. Even if they're unschooling and they're seeking it out for themselves, we still need to be their parents. And so homeschooling is character building for the parent because it makes you think, I could just go out to lunch with my girlfriends today, or I can remember that I need to teach my kid how to read, or I need to be looking at curriculum, or I need to be figuring out what our next steps are going to be, or I need to be up getting them ready for breakfast and getting started for the day, or I need to pay attention to this child and be more gentle with them in the way I speak and give them more grace and show them more patience. We run the gamut. Sometimes we have to push, sometimes we have to be more gentle. Those kind of things build our character as we begin to pay attention to our children and remember our responsibility for homeschooling them. And when kids come home from school and they're crying because their teacher was mean, or we had a bad day at school, or even that my lunch was bad, when the kids go to school, we can even if we don't complain about it or argue about it with the other adults, we can try to be that solace for our kids, and home is a different kind of place. But when they're home, you're responsible for all of that, and you're responsible for helping them be responsible for all that, and it builds the parents' character tremendously. Okay, it builds their character tremendously, and also the whole family's character is built. Non-homeschooling parents have to remember that dad can't call home from the office in the middle of the day and just demand that you stop doing what you're doing and pay a bill or make a phone call. We can make room to do those kind of things. Our family has been blessed because if my husband is far away from home because he's working or he's traveling with work and he needs a specific thing done, I can definitely do that. We make room for people who come to service the house or run important errands. We can make space for that. But the way it builds the character of the non-homeschooling parent is they have to remember that schooling is going on at home. The kids are being educated. Mom is engaged, kids are engaged, and it's not free time necessarily for our demands. That goes for the non-homeschooling parent. It builds the character of family members and friends who know the family is home, and everybody else. Everybody, as they watch homeschooling happen in your home, their character is built also just by your example. Okay. And one last thing, it also builds character with regards to keeping up your house. Now, I will tell you that I am the kind of personality who doesn't have to have pristine everything. I like disinfected and cleaned. I like smelling. I like spaces that smell good, but I'm not, there's no nasty, dirty surfaces. I'm not talking about that. But there are piles of papers everywhere, and our house looks like we live in it, right? But when you live in it, there's no time to clean it and leave it. So when it comes to being tidy, your character is built based on organization. You learn how to become more organized. I can't tell you how many parents I've talked to who say, I'm not organized enough to homeschool. That's okay. You'll learn how to be organized. That part of your character will be built. You'll learn to be disciplined. You'll learn to get your curriculum done. You'll learn to make sure your kids are learning. You will learn, and your character will be built, and so will theirs, around what happens inside your house. Not letting dishes pile up, taking care of the yard. All those things are part of the character building with homeschooling. Okay? All right, moving on. H. Here, there, and everywhere. So we talked a little while ago about the opportunities available to homeschoolers, and opportunity is another one that we're going to talk about later. But the thing about homeschooling and the letter H, that's what it was we talked about a little while ago. The letter H being home. Homeschooling doesn't always take place at home. We homeschool everywhere. We homeschool at home, that's the here. We homeschool in tutorials and co-ops, that might be the there, and we homeschool everywhere. We go on field field trips. We take our books to the doctor's office. We homeschool in the grocery store. We homeschool on road trips. We homeschool at the library. We homeschool at the park. I have seen families bring their homeschooling materials to Six Flags. We homeschool everywhere. There is no one right place to do homeschooling. And my family is a good example. I was telling you before that we are extroverts and people person introverts, and sometimes we get tired of being in the house, especially during either the really, really hot days of late summer or the really, really cold days of midwinter. We get tired of being in the house. We don't want to be in the house on dark, dreary days, so we will pack up and go spend our whole day in the library where there's different lighting, and there's a different energy, and there's books to read and other things to excite us. We're not easily distracted. Yes, we can be, but we're not. We're more energized by the people around us. So we don't homeschool always in the house, and we homeschool in groups. We homeschool with friends. Sometimes we just get together and go sit somewhere. I homeschooled in mall, food courts. We homeschool wherever we can carry our books. And I think it's a misunderstanding that homeschoolers don't carry backpacks because, you homeschool at home, but my kids live out of their backpack. We carry our backpacks because we are often on the go. And I will tell you that although home is where the heart is, and your home is where your homeschool, your command central, it is going to be for some people very difficult to remember to go home and get your work done. So much social opportunity, so many opportunities for being outside the house. Homeschooling happens here, there, and everywhere. There are others who do it, and you don't need to stay in the house if you don't want to, okay? And on that note, we come to opportunity. Homeschooling provides an enormous wealth of opportunity, an enormous wealth of opportunity. There are opportunities for homeschoolers in every arena of life. So because homeschooling is not new anymore in the United States, and because it's legal in all 50 states, there are lots of industries that cater just to homeschoolers. So you may have noticed that dance classes and gymnastics and karate and that kind of thing mostly take place in the evening, but lots of homeschoolers do those things in the middle of the day because those programs they own their space, or they rent their space, they pay their staff, and then their spaces are empty all day. Homeschoolers approach them and we say, hey, we want to do dance classes, but we want to do it in the middle of the day as part of our PE credit or as part of our homeschooling, and they open up. You may not find one immediately, readily. It may not be the first one you call, but they will. They do. They like to make opportunities for homeschoolers. And so we have opportunities for art classes, and then there are music lessons, and then there are the physical education things we talked about. There are field trips galore. In this area, the museums are free, and there's so much history and all kinds of things everywhere around us. But wherever you live, if you're watching this and you're not in our immediate viewing area, you just take some looking around to find out what the opportunities are for educational field trips. And we've been to potato chip factories, and we've been to the landfill and watched the recycling. We've done behind the scenes at grocery stores. We've been to, all kinds of historical sites. We've been lots and lots of places by homeschooling, because homeschooling provides the opportunity that some other schooling environments don't. You're in charge of what opportunities you provide for your children. If your kids are interested in the Civil War, you could spend your whole school year traveling up and down Civil War sites, going to reenactments, visiting Williamsburg and Gettysburg and all kinds of places that have a lot to do with the Civil War and Williamsburg, I think, is American Revolution, but the Gettysburg for Civil War. You can go to any of those places. You can do whatever your kids are interested in. And listen, I'll tell you, when we lived in New Jersey, we were in the land of the American Revolution. Williamsburg is also American Revolution era site. But when we lived in New Jersey, we did all the American Revolution stuff. We drove to where Washington crossed the Delaware. We did so much. And we were able to do that because I set our schedule, and I was the one who was able to, with my children's input, plot out what we were going to learn. Homeschooling provides you with that opportunity. And then there are adults who will mentor your kids, and there are people you can shadow. When you get to be, your high schoolers can follow their bent right down to the very most narrow interest that they have, or maybe their interests are broad and they don't know exactly how they want to specialize in. So you can give them all kinds of classes to take. You can provide electives that, are not limited by what your school district provides or what they can afford. Homeschooling provides a tremendous amount of opportunity. And one kind of opportunity that I think is the best is that homeschooling provides us with the opportunity to meet our kids exactly where they are. So if you have a special needs child who is a certain age, but their learning or their cognition, their cognitive ability is at a whole lot younger, or maybe you have a child who has a challenge and they learn a little bit slower, they have a processing disorder, or you're working with ADHD or Down syndrome, or some of us, I've met lots of families who have kids that are way accelerated and they brought their kids home because the school district couldn't keep up with them, or they were getting in trouble because the talented and gifted program wasn't even keeping their attention. Whatever dynamic you have, wherever your family, wherever your family finds itself, homeschooling provides the unique opportunity to meet your children where they are and meet their needs as best you can, okay? So you don't have to be limited by what your school district offers or by the value system with regards to how others value education. I talked to a mom recently on social media who told me that her school district's whole bent is STEM. And while she sees the value in that, science, technology, engineering, and math, it lives in a household of creatives, and none of them are interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. Nobody is interested in that. So she brought her kids home to help them tap into their humanities side. Homeschooling provides those opportunities. Let's move on. Oh, for overwhelming. Homeschooling can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. There is a lot to consider. There's a lot to do. And if I didn't tell you that homeschooling can be overwhelming, I would be remiss. So much to consider, so much to think about, so many things that could bog you down. But there are lots of people doing it. We have a great cloud of witnesses. There are lots of people that you can talk to and visit with and see who are also homeschooling. And you can get some encouragement from other people on how to make it work for you. However, excuse me, I have a tickle. However, homeschooling is also an overwhelming joy. So let's concentrate there for a few minutes. Homeschooling is an overwhelming joy. Homeschooling is one of the best things you'll ever do in your life. Homeschooling brings us confidence and pride and joy in seeing our kids. That first light bulb, you know how you may have been feeling when you saw the first step or you heard the first word. When you first sit with your children and they're learning to read, you're going to have overwhelming joy. When your kids have been struggling over a math problem and you're able to help them find the answer, you're going to be overwhelmed with joy. I have never cried so much about anything as I do when I'm watching my kids do so well in homeschool. And I will tell you that homeschool graduation, it is a moment. It is a moment where you get to the end of this journey. And I know not everybody will homeschool through high school, but whatever the end of your journey is, you will have a moment where you look back and say, we did that and we did it well. We did it well. There's overwhelming joy in homeschooling. But I don't want you to get started in this and think to yourself, oh, we got it. It's going to be easy. We're easing on down the road, because you're looking at other people's press releases, right? Because you're reading on social media about all this wonderful homeschooling that's going on. And you see all these families that are doing all these great things. And, there's so much opportunity, and you're just going to tap into all of that. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest things you've ever done. It is an extension of parenting. And when you get to some of these grades and at ages where kids would already have been challenging, like middle school, when they're developing their own value systems and stuff, you're going to be a little bit overwhelmed, but it's okay. You are in good company, because we all are. Okay? Let's move on. Excuse me. And L, labor of love. I've talked a lot clearly because my voice is starting to wane. So I'm just going to end this by saying homeschooling is a labor of love. It is overwhelming. And it is a lot of work, and it's a huge responsibility, but it's a labor of love. And this is the part of my workshop when I do it live where I tell parents, it's okay. It's okay to decide this is hard. It's okay every year, right around February and March, when there's no more holidays and no reasons to take days off, it's okay to need a break. It's okay to decide this is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's okay, because homeschooling is labor. It's a lot of work. You build your skill set. Your kids are building themselves up. Lots of character building, lots of challenges, lots of things to consider. Homeschooling is a labor of love. But not only is it labor, but don't forget the love part. You do it because you love your kids. You do it well because you love your kids. Your love for your family will overcome the most difficult moments. When your kids are fed up and they don't want to work on that math problem anymore, or maybe you've got a mathy kid who doesn't want to read another novel, and you've got to figure out how to get them through that hard patch, you'll remember that you love them. You may have to think, wait a minute now, let me get myself together so I can come back and remember that I love you and get finished with this work. Yes, you may have to. There will be days when you don't want to get up and get right into math the first thing in the morning, and neither will they. I have met families. My family loves history. I am an English teacher. That's what I do. And I teach classes outside the home. I teach in English. And so I love writing and I love literature, but not every kid likes that. So it becomes laborious. And not every mom enjoys teaching, so it becomes laborious. Sometimes you'll find that it's labor. And I could go through this whole workshop and make it all look like flowery beds of ease, but why would I do that if it's not true, right? You love your family, you love your kids, you want the best for them, so you'll do this. But remember that it's going to be a labor of love, okay? And this is the point where we would take some questions. But we can't do that. I would usually say, before I do, let me tell you about this project I'm working on. We can't take your questions here, but you can reach out to us by using the contact page on our website, okay? And you're on the website. If you found this video, you're probably on our website, but just in case you found the video some other way, we are at bridgeelementary.com. Okay, so there's a contact page there. You can reach out to us. There's a website, email information there. You can reach out to us. And the last thing I wanted to tell you was I am in the process of releasing a book called Homeschool 101, Chart the Course, Enjoy the Journey. In this book, I go through more detail of what we talked about today, but also we talk about the legalities of homeschooling. We talk about the different considerations with regards to what kind of homeschooler you are. We talk about figuring out your child's learning style and choosing groups to attend, whether you're going to be a part of a co-op or other kind of groups that you may need for socializing. I talk about all of those kind of things in Homeschool 101, and I keep saying we because it's just like having a conversation with me. We're talking about how to get started on the best course so that you can enjoy your journey for homeschool. Okay, you can find this book available for pre-order on my website, NicoleKennedyGreen.com. You can also find me on social media at Nicole Kennedy Green. And of course, you can find me at Bridge Elementary, Bridge Extension. This is the point where I turn it over to Kim. She's going to come back and give you the nuts and bolts of Homeschooling 101. She's going to talk all about the different little intricacies that you need to know about. And then we'll come back together at the end and just have a few final words. Thanks so much for being with me.
So part 2 of Homeschooling 101 has to do with the nuts and bolts. So you've made the decision that you want to homeschool. Now you've got to look at some how to do this and what to do. Really, this is all about steps to take and decisions that you need to make. So you've got a couple of decisions that you're going to need to make. First off, you've got to decide who's going to provide your accountability. Are you going to go to the county or are you going to go to the umbrella? And there's some factors involved in that. A second decision that you're going to need to make is what method of instruction you're going to use. And what we're going to talk about is not going to be all inclusive, but a lot of times the method of instruction that you use is going to drive the type of curriculum that you use when you decide to homeschool. The third decision that you're going to need to make is what vehicle you're going to use. How are you going to homeschool your child? And what I love that Nicole talked about is that there's so many different ways to do this. There are as many different ways to homeschool as there are homeschoolers. So let's start from the beginning. You've made this decision. You're going to go now and notify your county where your school district is that you are going to make the decision to homeschool your children. And what that means is you've got to provide what's called an assurance of consent. And that assurance of consent is basically going to communicate two different things. It's going to communicate, number one, your decision to homeschool, and then number two, who's going to provide the oversight for that? Who are you going to report to? Who are you going to demonstrate that you've been providing for your child regular, thorough instruction? And you've got really two options. You can either go directly to the county or you can go to an umbrella. If you're going to the county, you're going to notify that on your homeschool notification. This homeschool notification is from PG County, but now this is the old paper way. Nowadays, they've got it online, and I did go ahead and get that website up there. Each of the counties, I'm sure, especially at this point, now that we're in the age of COVID-19, each of these counties is now providing some form of online communication for this. So you want to get in touch with your local county and let them know that you're intending to homeschool. And again, one of the questions you're going to need to answer is who's going to provide the instruction. The instruction can either go, you can go, as I said, directly to the county, in which case you're meeting with the county representative and they're reviewing everything that you do and they're deciding whether or not you've met that threshold of regular, thorough instruction. The alternative is an umbrella group. And with an umbrella group, what happens is that you're getting peer reviewed. You're being reviewed by another homeschooler who's experienced, has been doing this for some time, and they're coming alongside and they're saying, okay, yes, you're doing this really well. Here's some things that you might need to tighten up. But there's a different feel that happens when you're with somebody who's your peer, who's also a fellow homeschooler, who knows what homeschooling is all about, versus the county. And sometimes it's hit or miss. There are great counties that really work well with homeschools, and there are others where it's a little bit of a challenge. So a lot of that is going to depend on where you are. Okay. Now, with the county reviews, and actually with the state requires that there are no more than 3 reviews, and what they're looking for is this regular, thorough instruction. For example, what will happen, let me give an example of what those reviews will kind of look like. If you're having one at the beginning of the school year, and I'm going to go from the standpoint of an umbrella group, which I will tell you that if you're in the state of Maryland, I heard one person say that you're crazy if you're not with an umbrella, and I actually agree with that. It's really, really helpful to, again, have somebody who's done it before, have someone that's one of your peers that can really help you and sometimes hold your hand as you're going through this process. Usually what will happen is at the beginning of the school year or the beginning of the academic year, you'll sit down with the reviewer and say, this is my plan. And my plan is that I'm going to go through the academic year, and I'm going to provide instruction in what's required, the English, math, science, social studies, art, music, health, and PE. That's really for the elementary and middle age. When you get into high school, there are some other things that come into play, and Nicole and I can both speak to that. Nicole has graduated 1, I've graduated 3 so far homeschooling, but you are having to demonstrate regular, thorough instruction. You are showing them that this is your plan, and so you really do have to have a plan in place, whatever that looks like. Okay, now that will happen usually at the beginning of the year. Then midway through the year, there's a check-in to say, okay, how far along are you? Are you hitting those benchmarks? Are you getting through your curriculum? And then, of course, at the end of the year, have you made it through your curriculum? Now, I will tell you with this, with the regular and thorough instruction, regular does not necessarily mean 5 days a week, sitting at a table from 8:30 a.m. until 3:30 in the afternoon. One of the things that you will find as a homeschooler is that you have a lot more time. I think we can all agree that a lot of times what happens in an institutional setting is that there's a lot of classroom management that's going on, and you don't have that necessarily when you're homeschooling. You're able to really go in deep and get right into the subject, and so you'll find that you're able to get a lot more done in a shorter period of time. Now, I will also say that while regular thorough instruction does not mean 5 days a week, it also doesn't necessarily mean 1 day a week. You are supposed to be regularly working with your child, making sure that they're grasping whatever concepts it is that you're teaching on a consistent basis. Thorough means that you are going through at least 75% of that curriculum. If you've gone through the year and you've only gone through, and let's say that that curriculum, and I'm thinking of math right now, has 120 lessons, and if at the end of the year you've only done 20, then there's something wrong there. Now, it may not be that you haven't been providing regular thorough instruction. Maybe there's something that's going on with the curriculum, and that's another discussion for another time, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But again, at the end of the day, what you're really looking at doing is getting through that material, and you're getting through at least 75% of that, okay? Now, H.O.M.E.S.C.H.O.O.L does outline the subjects that you are required to demonstrate regular thorough instruction in: English, math, science, social studies, art, music, health, and PE. And there are multiple ways to do that. And one of the things that you will find is that a lot of times there's an overlap. If you look behind me, you'll see some art projects that came from my kids, but they were also in different subjects. There's a science project there, and while they were also covering science, there was also a huge art component in that, with the dioramas that they were doing, with the projects that they were doing. So we were able to hit both of those subjects. Same thing with social studies. With social studies, we were using lap books, and those lap books could be as simple as the kids wanted to, or as very detailed. And I will tell you that I have a daughter that is wildly artistic. So her lap books really also encompass that art instruction. And then let's think about things like health and PE. If your child is playing sports, that's PE. Things that you wouldn't even think about: doctor's visits, going to the dentist, when you're, things that you're cooking at home, meal planning, all of these things can fall under that discipline of health. So there are many different ways to tackle that. But again, what we're saying with the state is requiring for you to demonstrate that regular and thorough instruction. And while that's happening, I will say that it is important for you to know your rights. Okay, when you're getting that review, one of the things that you need to know is that that's all that you're required to provide, is that regular thorough instruction. And if an entity is requiring more than that, sometimes they need to be redirected to say, wait a second, H.O.M.E.S.C.H.O.O.L only says that this is what I need to provide, and I don't need to give you test scores. I don't need to have my child necessarily, this is a question that comes up, does my kid have to sit and do the standardized testing? No, you don't. That is not a requirement. Again, if you're homeschooling, what you are required to do is demonstrate regular and thorough instruction in those required subject areas. Okay. One other thing I wanted to talk about is when you make the choice to go under an umbrella, and I do use the word choice because you do have a choice either way. You can either go to the county or you can go to the umbrella. With the umbrella organization, they may have some specific things that they require to be a part of their umbrella. Now, you can't go to an umbrella and say, hey, well, I want to be a part of your group, but I'm only going to do this little bit for regular thorough instruction. It doesn't work that way. If you're not willing to come under the guidelines of an umbrella, then probably you'll want to do one of two things: either find another umbrella that's going to meet what you want or what you envision for your homeschooling, or you may end up deciding that you want to go to the county. Again, that choice is completely up to you. All right, so we've talked about notifying the county. That's really the first thing that you do. And I will say one other thing is that I know that some of the paperwork will say you've got to give 2 weeks notice, and the reality is the minute you decide to homeschool, the next day you can begin that. You don't have to have that 2-week notice. I'll just let you know that. Nothing for nothing on that one. All right, so let's move on. The second decision is going to be, what is your method of instruction that you're going to use? And I'm going to just briefly go over 6 different methods that are very common that you'll see throughout the homeschool world, for lack of a better word. And one of the things that you'll find is that a lot of times these methods will interweave. They'll overlap with one another. One is classical. Classical method of homeschooling uses great books. They divide learning for a child into 3 chunks. One is the grammar stage when they're very young. Really, it's like really from very, very young to about 12 is when that's when they're gathering all of the facts and they're learning jingles and that kind of thing. Then they move on to the logic stage where they start asking all kinds of questions, and that's where they're starting to get into their analytical skills, and they're really looking at, I had some notes on this one. They're questioning, a lot of critical thinking happens there, investigation. And then finally they go into the rhetoric stage where they're applying all that they've learned. And there's a lot of communication that goes in there. And they're learning how to creatively express all that they've learned. Another method is Charlotte-Mason. And Charlotte-Mason is very child-driven. They use living books. There's a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of nature study involved in that. And actually, there is a group that just started, so you want to check them out if you're interested in Charlotte-Mason, called Mason Inspired Buoy. And they follow the Charlotte-Mason methodology. Another option is a unit study. And with a unit study, what you're doing is it's really tailored to the passions of your child. So let's say that you have a child that really enjoys trains. Well, believe it or not, you could actually build a curriculum all around the trains. You can use the trains to teach math. You can use it to teach science. You can use it to teach history. You can use it in writing. They can write different, style. They can do poetry about trains. They can do books about trains. They can, give you argumentative strategies, why this train is better than that train. So those are unit studies, again, where you're taking that one thing that your child really loves and you're building a curriculum around that. Another method is traditional school in a box, and that has a lot of workbooks, school, basically looking at textbooks and workbooks. Basically, what you're dealing with a regular school, you just put it in a little box, and now you're sitting at your kitchen table and you're doing that. An eclectic homeschooling looks like a mashup, I would say, of multiple methods. Maybe it borrows a little bit from the classic, maybe it borrows a little bit from Charlotte-Mason, maybe it takes a little bit of unit study, maybe it takes a little bit of that traditional, and you just kind of mash it up. And depending on what the subject is, you may use one of the different methodologies involved. And then, of course, the last one is unschooling, which, I like to call it, it's a free-for-all. There aren't really any books involved. It's very loose. It's very child-directed learning. What you need to know is that each method has its pros and its cons, and you really need to decide, and you really need to learn your child and what works best for you, and what works best for your child. One of the beauties of homeschooling is that you really get that opportunity. You really get to learn about your child. What is your child's passion? What are the things that make them tick? How do they learn? I'll give you a quick example. My son, he's down at the Art Institute of Virginia Beach, but when we first started homeschooling, I thought that he was not paying attention. I would go through all this instruction and he was busy doing other stuff. And I remember once in my frustration, I looked at him, I said, "Joshua, what did I just say?" And he just rattled it off. And what I got to learn about Josh is that he's a very kinesthetic, hands-on learner. So he needs to be very active. He needs to be actively engaged, but that's how he takes in his information. I have another son who is he's an auditory learner. And so if he was in a regular classroom, he would probably get in a lot of trouble for being a chatterbox. But how he learns is by talking. He learns by hearing. And so he'll talk something out and he'll talk to himself, but that's how he takes in information. So for him, we're in a tutorial, which I'm getting ready to get to next, the methodology. But again, finding that methodology that works best with your child, that's one of the beauties that you have with homeschooling. It's really not a one size fits all. It just can't be. Why? Because your kids are different. You're different. Your family is different. All right, so let me just move on with that. The third decision that you're gonna need to make is, what's your vehicle gonna be? How are you gonna homeschool? Are you gonna sit at a kitchen table with your child, just one-on-one? Are you going to at your home use videos? Are you going to do some online classes? You see, I've got some of these down here. Are you going to use online classes? Is that going to be your vehicle for providing that regular, thorough instruction? Are you going to use a co-op? When you have a co-op, you've got families that come together. A lot of times the parents will do the teaching. They may meet once a week, sometimes more than that, sometimes less than that. And a lot of times the co-ops tend to be extracurricular. Your PE, your art, they may have cooking, sewing classes, those kinds of things. And again, they're usually meeting maybe once a week, sometimes every other week. Or are you going to use a tutorial? And with the tutorial, and that really is a model that is really, I think, exploding in Maryland, where you've got tutors that come in to help teach, and they may teach. I know for ours, in our tutorial, the tutors are there. Your kids are in a structured classroom with their peers, learning together. They meet twice a week, but then the other 3 days, the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you're at home following up on that instruction. So a lot of tutorials tend to be very academic. I know for high school, my kids, we went to the tutorial model because there were some things that simply I could not teach. You know, I was not going, as much as I love math, advanced math and trigonometry was going to be a challenge if I was going to have to do it myself with my children. Biology and chemistry, as fascinating, as wonderful as they are, I really didn't want to do those in my home. And so that's where a tutorial will come into play, and that can be a wonderful option for you for homeschooling. And then, of course, you can do a combination. Just like we said, there was this great combination. You can kind of mishmash everything in when you're figuring out what your methodology is for homeschooling. The same can be said for your vehicle. You don't have to just sit in your kitchen table and do homeschooling. And I love it when Nicole was talking about homeschooling happening here, there, and everywhere. That's really what it's all about. You can create whatever works for you and for your family and for your children. Maybe you might want to do an online class. Maybe you might want to do an online class and maybe do a co-op here. Maybe you want to do a tutorial there. And then a lot of times what vehicle you use may depend upon where your child is. If you've got a younger child, you're probably going to do mostly co-ops. When you get older into high school, chances are good that you're either going to do some kind of online class. You're probably going to do some tutorials. You may do some co-ops as well. But again, that's again the beauty of homeschooling. You get to put together that program that is tailored for your child and tailored for your family. All right. Last thing, when you homeschool, the one thing that I really want to encourage you is to get support. There are so many homeschool support groups out there. Some are community-based, some are church-based. You have those that are online. I know Maryland Homeschoolers is one of them. Most of those are free. And the tremendous benefit of doing homeschooling with someone else, and finding that, yeah, like we said, there's so many of us, we're all over the place. And so you'll find, yeah, you're not alone. And then again, some of the struggles of homeschooling, you'll find that you're not alone. And, you know, you can build each other up. I love that, you know, at our tutorial, we really have a community where we're helping one another. We're encouraging one another when we need encouragement. And I can tell you, homeschooling is not for the faint of heart. And there are going to be times when you're going to need that encouragement, and how wonderful it is to link arms with another homeschooler and get that support. So just know that that support is out there. You do not have to do this by yourself. You really shouldn't. I don't believe that you really should be doing this by yourself. There's something beautiful that happens when a community of people come together with a common goal of educating their kids. They may come from very different backgrounds, different ethnic groups, different socioeconomic groups, different religious groups, but there's something beautiful that happens when you come together with the sole purpose of, you know what, we're going to homeschool. We're going to take the responsibility of homeschooling our kids. We're going to raise up that next generation of leaders. So I think that's it for my section of Homeschooling 101. Again, just as a quick little wrap up, the one thing that you're going to absolutely need to do is notify your county that you are going to do this, whatever that looks like. If you're going to do it pen and paper and fill out the form. Nowadays, of course, it can be filled out online. And then you make the decision, who's going to provide that oversight? Is it going to be the county, or are you going to use an umbrella group? I will also say with umbrella groups, many of them, most of them, you're going to pay a fee to be a part of them. But a lot of times it's nominal. You really shouldn't be paying a whole lot to do that. And if you are, come and see us, because we can direct you to some great, great resources. And then the last thing I would say is, in terms of your methodology and how you do this, probably one of the best things you can do is what you're doing right now, which is for participating in this virtual homeschool fair. When you go to that page, to both of those pages that have the participants, and look at their interviews, you will find so many resources available to you so that you're able to plan out and put together a program that is just marvelous for you and for your family. I really can't encourage you enough to go and go look at those videos, check in with those participants, and tailor the program that's going to meet the needs for you and for your children. And I guarantee you won't regret it. It's just going to be a wonderful opportunity for you and for your kids. So that's my portion of Homeschooling 101, the nuts and bolts and how to get it done.
Wow, Kim, that was great. Thank you so much for all the information. And so look, we brought this workshop to you because this is what we would have done in person, and we don't want you to miss any part of the fair that we had organized for you guys. We want you to make sure that you go to all of the videos, check out all of the participants, because there's a wealth of information there for you and your families. And if you have any questions, Kim and I and Bridge Elementary are here for you. So be sure to reach out to us right here on our website through the contact page. Until we meet each other again, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.